HighScore is one of my favorite events. It's such a great resource for information if you're interested in anything to do with composition or sound design. So I'm really stoked that we've got a great turnout and you're all going to learn something, right?
I loved the freelancing advice and the advocacy and accessibility of all of the presenters. So far, the keynotes are incredible. The presenters this year are top notch.
How about a show of hands, actually? Who's here because they're looking for work or hoping it will lead to work? Okay, yeah, quite a few of you. I think this is good because this is the right place. You're at the right event.
There were so many technical talks that even someone as me who's not super experienced but also not a newbie, I honestly think I got to learn something from every panel and talk that I attended. The big learning curve for me with Minemaker was that oftentimes your work is good enough and that's all you need. Doesn't mean you shouldn't push harder, but that you're already pushing hard and it's probably already really good.
What you need a month is whatever monthly amount that leaves you to feel safe, comfortable, and inspired. And if the financial amount that you want for yourself does not allow you to have these three things, I would inspire you to increase that.
The highlight so far for me has been the keynote speech by Josie. It was really inspirational on just telling us beginners on how to get into the game music industry and how it can actually be a very inclusive space if that's what you make it to be.
Early on in my career, I felt like I was compromising a lot, and my journey, as hopefully you've seen, has been learning how to compromise less as I go on. And so it's my hope today that you can take some of this reflection forward with you into the rest of the weekend. You can think about what your heart wants and what your heart needs, and that you can be more mindful of the hearts of those around you as well.
I went to one of the panels about the Fmod talk and how Darren made the Hades soundtrack. I've used Fmod once before for one of the games that I worked on, Forts, but definitely not in as much detail as that.
So to start, I'm going to share my screen here, and this is an actual, the Fmod project we use for Hades. Okay. Now this part's just going to loop while he's down and you think you've won. And for those of you who haven't played Hades, slight spoilers, but this is the final boss music. And then, basically, this is just going to loop until you're ready to proceed, and then it's going to go to the next part of the fight. I changed it to section 2.
And so as you can see here, we had a reasonably long animation with a red icon that lets you know he's performing an unblockable attack. But without the audio tell, it's really, really easy to miss, especially when there's a lot of enemies around. And so, this is pretty obvious stuff, right? Not that much thought really needs to go into it, right? Well, wrong, because there's actually quite a lot of numbers worth knowing when you're considering designing your telegraphs.
It's been super exciting to be back at live events and seeing people. The team has done such a great job at getting both people in Australia but also the international speakers. Has been really such a treat to see people come over and tell their stories.
But if I split it up and give each one of those lines a slightly different curve, so the difference there is more subtle, but any of these little 1% you can give it really make a big difference over the course of a whole piece.
Cult of the Lamb, once they announced it last year, I was really excited for the game, and to have played it, have seen my friends play it, and to actually deep dive more into how it was implemented into the game would be really interesting, so I'm looking forward to that.
So you can kind of just hear these little ramp up, high-pitched ramp up into the phrases. It's a tiny detail, but I think it's kind of cool.
Definitely this event is good for beginners and experienced people alike, and it's really good for networking and meeting new people that you'll probably end up working with at one point.